Hi guys, how are you? Good morning. Good morning. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm doing okay. I wasn't even planning on making a video today, but I was reading the comments in the video I put where I put your kingdom spouse or kingdom husband was too picky, and I read the comments and I saw a mixture of emotions, and it's like I know I don't have to explain myself or respond, but I really have to talk about this because this can be the problem as well. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm picking sides, because I saw people saying that I was taking the person's side. Then I saw people saying that I'm judging the person, and not. We've all been in a situation before where we've all been disobedient. You get what I'm saying? We've all been there. You have to remember something, guys. When you're wholeheartedly walking with God, your perception of things are different. You see things differently. When God spiritually awakens you to where you can see things more in the spirit than flesh, you see things differently. And when that happens, you will also reiterate things that happened in your past that you've looked past. And it's kind of like you didn't see the bigger picture back then, but then you're seeing the bigger picture now. Do you get what I'm saying? Because now you're walking with God and you have the spiritual eyes. You can hear now. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we don't, as individuals, we don't even know. Sometimes, before, I didn't know when I was hearing God properly. I was kind of confused sometimes. Okay, God, is that you, or is that me? Or do you get what I'm saying? Not everybody is 100% on that level to where they can hear when God talks to them, or they can see what God is showing them, or they understand stuff, right? Sometimes it comes in waves until you're fully walking with God and you fully understand the voice of God and you fully understand what warfare is and you fully understand what the dreams are and the visions are, is when you get a better understanding of things, right? With that being said, that video wasn't directly it was specifically towards that specific situation, but it doesn't just apply to that person. It applies to women. Do it too. Women do it too, men do it too. We all do it. We've all been disobedient before walking fully with God. Do you get what I'm saying? And you have to understand something about kingdom spouses and marriages, and which is the God-ordained person, the person that God has for you. You have to understand something. I know a lot of us grew up on Disney movies. I know a lot of us grew up on Finding Love at First Sight. And I know a lot of us grew up on these romantic comedies and movies and stuff like that. But you have to understand too that this is what God even told me last time. He said, not all the time is your kingdom husband or your wife gonna just come in and be the person you expect it to be, or is your kingdom husband gonna just show up on a night with a shining armor, just show up as this hopelessly romantic person. Remember what Paul said. Okay, Paul said, who were you, children of God, before you found God? Who were you before you found God? We all sinned. You get what I'm saying? We all sinned. And the reason I'm saying this too is because someone thought I was just judging that particular guy, but I wasn't. I was talking about the situation and how one side, it's how it looks on one side and how it can affect someone on the other end without knowing the full dynamic of the situation. Do you get what I'm saying? So, because I can see things from both perspectives, and that's something that God has blessed me with. And I talk to a lot of women on the phone, and I can see it. There's a lot of women that met their kingdom husband, but it's just not the right time. And that's what happens sometimes. You may not be in a relationship with them. You may not be married to them, but you may just meet the person and you may be further along on your journey with God than that person is. You get what I'm saying? You may be able to hear God and see God and know the voice of God, and God may be showing you everything that's going to happen with both of you guys together, and that person may be hearing God but not realizing they're actually hearing from God, and maybe a lot more deceived by warfare, a lot more tempted, from the devil. Do you get what I'm saying? And it may not be the right time. Do you see what I'm saying? So sometimes it's just not the right time, but God will allow you to know who the person is until it is the right time. And when it is the right time, God will bring you guys together. Do you see what I'm saying? And I hear from a lot of women who have been in that situation. There's most of them that I speak to, they're married now. They're married to the person now, but they've been talking to me for like 2.5 years. And around the time they were talking to me, the person had no idea that was even their wife. You get what I'm saying? Because there was so much distractions. They had no idea what warfare was. They had no idea until they stopped communicating, and the person completely went through a lot of storms, and they've actually were able to actually reflect and communicate with God and finally start changing their life. Then there was a turnaround for the best. Then they woke up and had that revelation. Sometimes it takes a while for someone to wake up. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going to wake up at the same time. Not everyone's going to get the revelation at the same time. So God is not going to just send your wife being this perfect person. You get what I'm saying? Or send your husband being this knight in shining armor. Sometimes it's not the right time. You're just going to meet them. But it's not the right time. You see what I'm saying? And the thing is, when you're on a walk with God and you're more further ahead on your journey with God, most likely you're going to be a lot more committed to the prophecies that God gave you than the other party, because the other party may not be getting the same prophecies as at that time, or the other party may be confused because they don't understand the difference between, God and the devil. So they may be confused, and that happens a lot. Like, look what happens today, this day and age. Like, there's Instagram, there's TV, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of counterfeits. You have to also understand, guys, that there's a lot of warfare. There's a lot of warfare. Like, I don't think you guys understand the amount of warfare that I've seen in my life. Like, I've literally witnessed people getting spells done to them, love spells done to them. And it happens. Some majority it's men. Majority of men get love spells done to them more than women, but majority of men, I see a lot of them get love spells done to them. I have people that call me and were like, Steph, I was on a heavy love spell. And I finally broke free from it, and I could finally see what's happening now, but so-and-so doesn't want to talk to me anymore because they're hurt. But I had no idea that I was under the influence of this, and this was warfare. Do you get what I'm saying? But because I know I'm not sticking up for nobody. I'm speaking on both perspectives, guys. Like, and that's why I say God will kind of show you what's really going down. God will show you what's really going down. You know what I mean? Like, we've all been disobedient. I could honestly say that having most of you guys ended up in relationships that wasn't godly, and God never approved of it, and you've ended up in these relationships, and you may have ended up in the relationship because the person was attractive, because you thought the person was the one. Like, how many times have you guys seen someone, you're like, oh, this person's attractive, fine, and then you try to pursue them, and then you ignored all the red flags because you're so focused on their physique and how they look? Many of us have been there, including women, including myself. I remember I used to fall for guys that were good looking, and I'm like, oh, this guy's good looking, and I would ignore all the red flags because I was going after, like, the way the man looked, to the point where I wasn't even noticing that I was being mistreated. I didn't notice that, it wasn't the right person for me. And I ended up marrying the person, and it wasn't even the person for me. God never approved of it. And I was walking with God at that time too, but I wasn't wholeheartedly walking with God. As in, like, I wasn't able to hear him as much. I wasn't able to get visions as much. But I was having dreams of this person, which is why I thought he was my husband. And I married him. And it ended up not being my husband. And God said I did not approve of that. But what kept me there was because I was like, oh my gosh, he's so attractive, and I ignored all the red flags. It happens. That's how the devil can get us sometimes. It's not always about... That's why I said yesterday, the video wasn't to try to make anyone feel bad, because I saw some individuals were feeling hurt, and I would never try to make you feel hurt. The point of the message was to let you know that when someone is not fully there yet and fully awake to the fact that, wow, this may be my wife, or this could be my wife, and they may be confused. Even when they hear God, they may think that, yeah, God, I think this is my wife, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Do you get what I'm saying? This happens a lot. Like, this happens a lot, even to us women. Okay, so the point of me saying that was I was trying to let the ladies know from this particular situation that when that happens, you can't blame yourself for someone else's decisions and someone else's actions. You still have to work on yourself mentally. You still have to remember, you still have to work on yourself physically. You still can't tell yourself that you have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but you still have to work on you. You can't sit in depression because of someone else's decisions or someone else's confusion, because someone else is not sure what to do. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you have to understand that you're not responsible for what someone else chooses to do. And I see a lot of women that blame themselves for stuff like this, and it's not your fault, is what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is, everyone's been through it, everyone goes through it, but you can't let that beat you down. You can't let that be pressure on you to be perfect. Yes, work on yourself mentally, physically, and spiritually. So I tell you guys all the time, even when you're not with this person, or when you're separated from this person, or God hasn't brought this person to you yet, it does not mean you have to sit there and just wait. No, you still have to work on yourself individually, get close to God, work on your life, try to get your finances up, try to work out, try to really take care of yourself. But it does not mean you have to be perfect. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to worry about meeting society's standards because of what you see on Instagram, because you get what I'm saying. That alone will make some people feel insecure because of how someone else treated them. So what I was trying to say yesterday is, it's not your fault if someone else chooses to be confused or is confused or chooses to go elsewhere because they're not 100% sure. You can't blame yourself for that. You get what I'm saying? Like, you still have to remember that you still have to take care of yourself regardless, and it took a while for me to even get there, because I've been through that in my last marriage. I've been through that with ex-boyfriends and in my past, so it took a while for me to even regain my confidence. You get what I'm saying? In specific areas. But then God had to explain to me that some people are just not there yet. Remember, I saw people saying, well, I don't want a man like that, or I don't want a female like that, if that's how they think and stuff. But we've all thought like that. We've all been there before. Do you get what I'm saying? And sometimes we have to go through lessons to learn, to come to that revelation that, whoa, maybe my husband isn't someone that I may be attracted to, or maybe my husband is someone that's not my type, or maybe my wife is someone I would never think is my type, or maybe my wife is someone that we have to get past that stereotypism thing. Like, we have to remember that when God has someone for us, sometimes it's not what we think. And that's why God said your partner is not going to just come on a night as a knight in shining armor. There's going to be warfare before you guys, especially if it's an ordained person, because I saw someone say, well, everybody has free will. Yeah, we all have free will. But when God specifically assigns someone to you, it's because it's according to his will, and there's an assignment that God has two people work. There's an assignment, right? And it doesn't mean you have to be with them. You get what I'm saying? But then at the same time, it can go against God's assignment, and it's not everyone's going to wake up to that revelation at the same time. It may be the wife that realizes that before the husband does. It may be the husband that realizes that before the wife does. Both may realize it at the same time. Like, well, I prayed about it, I fasted about it. If they're already both walking wholeheartedly with God, they will both come to that realization at the same time. Sometimes, like I said, one is walking with God wholeheartedly and the other person isn't. And it happens all the time, right? And that's what I was saying yesterday. As women, we are more emotional. We think a lot more emotionally. Like, I'm not saying all women, okay? I'm just giving you guys like an example. Like, if God shows you someone's your partner, most of the times, we probably won't even go outside and date anybody else. Or we probably won't even open a door for anybody else, because we already know what God showed us, and because we may be more in tune with God, or we may be more in tune with our emotions. Do you get what I'm saying? Where we're like, okay, I know the truth. There's no point in me doing this. Whereas, and don't take offense to this, men. I'm just keeping it real, because some men be more logical with their thinking, their thought process. Men may be more visual individuals, more logical. Like, okay, who can I see myself being with? More, they may think like that more than actually thinking like, who does God want me to be with? They will think like that when they're wholeheartedly walking with God and they finally wake up. But sometimes a man's character is literally just, I got to be more logical and realistic with who I can really see myself being with. So it's not to say that person didn't matter. It's not to say that person was they never thought a person was ever the one. There's confusion that can happen because now it's a battle between the physical and the unknown. And if you're not wholeheartedly walking with God, how are you going to wholeheartedly see the unknown if you're not wholeheartedly walking with God? And sometimes it takes for mistakes to happen to realize, whoa, I did mess up. Whoa, yeah. And that's why when I saw that comment where this one male said, yes, if you're right, men do think like that logically, I liked that comment. I had to pin it because let's keep it real. Like, not many men admit that. Not many men admit that. And it's not just men. Women do this too. But not a lot of people will actually admit, like, hey, I messed up. Yeah, it's true. Like, we so distracted with the physical, we don't even look at what God really wants for us sometimes. And it's true, right? So when he said that, I'm like, I respect that, because not many men actually admit to stuff like that, right? And we've all been there. You get what I'm saying? Like, I remember in the past, let me tell you guys a story. So in the past, I think I was in like high school or something like that. I met this guy and he was so nice to me. He's a different type of guy. So I've never met a guy like him before. So nice to me. And I was going to counseling sessions, and he would come to my counseling sessions with me. He was always waiting for me. He could have been hanging out with his friends. He could have been doing everything else, but instead he would wait for me at my counseling sessions, my therapy sessions, because I was in a group home at the time, my therapy sessions, and then we'd go out and go eat together. And he was a really good boyfriend, okay? And he was a very good guy. He was a good guy. Like, as in, like, he wasn't a bad guy. Like, as in, like, he wasn't the tough guy. He was, like, very emotionally in tune with his feelings. And he knew how to treat women. And he was raised right? So, that being said, because I was so accustomed, and I was kind of more of, like, I want a bad guy. I want a bad boy kind of thing. I want a bad boy, like... And I didn't really know at the time what a good guy is or was at the time. There was a decision that had to be made between that guy and the good guy. And they both ended up confronting me. They both ended up confronting me. And they're like, okay, well, the guy that was the bad guy, and I'm saying bad guy as in, like, he wasn't doing the right things. Like, he had a lot of red flags. He said, well, you gotta pick between me and him. And I'm like, and I went with the bad guy. And guess what? The guy that was a really good guy, I saw him walk away, and he's like, Steph, how can you do that? Like, why would you do that to me? And he walked away. I was like 16 at the time, y'all. Don't judge me, okay? I was 16. But he walked away, and I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he walked away. Do you get what I'm saying? He was hurt. And he called my phone. When I got back to the group home, he called my phone all evening, and I didn't answer because I felt guilty. I felt bad because I'm like, whoa. But the reason why, it's not that I didn't like him. It's not that he wasn't attractive. It's not that I didn't see his worth. My mentality was so stuck on, I think this guy's better for me because I need a bad guy. Like, I just need a bad guy. I need someone that's going to stick up for me and you know what I mean? And it's not to say that other guy wasn't going to stick up for me, and which he would have. He was actually going to be more of a match for me, but I didn't know that because why? I didn't love myself. I didn't love myself at the time. I didn't know what love was. Do you get what I'm saying? So, that being said, the bad guy hurt my feelings, and I had too much pride to even go back and contact the good guy because I'm like, I don't deserve him. I had too much pride to even call him and apologize. I had too much pride. That being said, years went by, and now I'm in my early 20s now, and I've already been through a lot of toxic relationships now, and I'm just like, oh, here we go, and I tried looking for the good guy. I'm like, let me see if I can find him and reach out to him and see how he's doing, because he's always been on the back of my mind for years, because I've always carried that guilt. I've always carried that guilt of not being able to apologize, not being able to really tell him that it wasn't his fault, because I could only imagine what was going on in the back of his mind. Like, he was probably blaming himself and thinking he wasn't good enough when he was more than perfect. I didn't love myself at the time. Do you get what I'm saying? So I tried finding him, y'all, and I couldn't find him. Anyways, years passed by, and I'm married at the time, and I'm walking to drop my son to school, and I bumped into him, and he did not look the same. When I bumped into him, he looked like the bad guy. He looked like the bad guy. Like the way he dressed was completely different. The things that he was into was not like him. He was never into stuff like that. Yeah, the things that he was into was not like him. Like, you can tell, like, he was drug dealing and all that. So you can just tell. And I was kind of shocked when I saw him, because he wasn't the same person that I remembered him to be. And I remember saying hi to him, and he said hi, and he was so shocked to see me. He was like, whoa. Like, he was shocked. He's like, are you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And he couldn't look me in the eyes, and I felt so ashamed. You know what I mean? So I said, okay, well, have a good day. He said, you too. Walked away. And guess what I found out? I found out that, because at the time I was married, but I was separated and going through a divorce. And yeah, I found out months later, I found out that the day after we bumped into each other, he passed away. And he passed away because he got shot, because he was affiliated with things that he wasn't supposed to be affiliated with. And I'm going to be honest, guys, like, when I made that decision when I was 16, it wasn't because of him. It wasn't because he wasn't good enough. I knew he was more than good enough. He was also attractive. He was a perfect guy. The reason why I made that decision was because I didn't love myself. And I was so used to toxicity. I was so used to the bad guys, to the point where I didn't know what love is. And because I had to match my vibration, my frequency, had to match my insecurities, I had to find someone that was going to match that. He did not match that. I felt insecure around him because he was too good of a guy. Do you get what I'm saying? So I was more attracted to someone that was like me. And I never had a chance to really tell him that. And for years, I always wondered what went on in the back of his mind. I always knew he felt like he was insecure. He felt like he wasn't good enough and got insecure because of me, right? I knew that I hurt him to the point where I always carried this guilt, like maybe I changed him. Maybe because he saw that, because he really was in love with me, and because he saw that I was so attracted, like we had that high school love, you know? Because he saw that I was so attracted to the bad guy, he felt like he had to change himself. Do you get what I'm saying? And I have a message about that after. God gave me a message for you guys about that after, okay? It's going to be after this video or before this video, depending on how fast it uploads. But he felt like he had to change himself and be this bad guy because that's what I was attracted to, and he was trying to, you get what I'm saying? And for years I carried that guilt. And I even looked for him for years because I tried to make amends and apologize to him because I felt so bad, you know. And at the time I didn't, when I first when that whole situation happened, when it was fresh, I didn't, because I had a lot of pride. Okay, so when I found out he passed, I carried so much guilt because I'm like, I didn't have to tell him I was sorry, and I felt like I was responsible for the changes he made in his life. I had a role to play in that. You get what I'm saying? And I always carried that guilt. And I told God, after I said, God, I would never hurt another guy again. Like, I learned my lesson. I would never hurt anyone again. And so with that being said, I said that to say to you guys, we all have done it. Now that I walk wholeheartedly with God, I see things differently from spiritual eyes, and you know, I can hear God, and I can see through a lot of things. You get what I'm saying? And the point of me saying that video yesterday was to let this person know not to blame themselves for the decision that someone else makes, because sometimes they may not see what's going on. Sometimes when someone's not walking wholeheartedly with God, they make decisions based on what they feel is best for them. We've all done that. How many times has God says, no, you can't go there, and we went anyways? You can't do this, we've done it anyways. Don't date that person, you dated them anyways. How many of you guys, women, ladies out there, may have children with someone that God did not approve of, and you're like, wow, I learned my lesson? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it happens to everybody. I just wanted to say, the point of that message and this message is, you can't beat yourself up over the decisions that someone else makes. And in the process of it, take care of yourself and just focus on you. This is why I said the other day on my video, I said, while we are working on, if God has shown you who your person is or God hasn't shown you who your person is and you are waiting, it's important to work on yourself. Don't let yourself go, as in, like, don't let yourself go because of depression. Like, don't treat yourself bad because of how you think someone else feels about you, because someone else may just be insecure. You may actually be too good for someone and they know this, and it's kind of like they don't feel like they deserve you, so you know they have to go where they align with, because that's the energy they're in, because they don't love themselves and that's what they know, right? So you can't dumb yourself down because of that, or beat yourself down because of that. You still got to get up and pray. You still got to get up and worship God. You still got to take care of yourself. You still got to take care of your mental health. You still got to take care of your physical. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's just a lesson to people that not everything on the outside that looks good is good on the inside. That was the point of the lesson. And that, yeah, sometimes God will allow you to step out of your comfort zone, and so God will let you step out of your comfort zone and see what real love is. But if you choose to go against that, God will allow you to stay in your comfort zone and keep getting hurt until you say, God, okay, I'm ready, I'm tired. And that's what happens sometimes in kingdom marriages and relationships. Sometimes you're not going to just meet the person and then you guys just fall into each other's arms. Sometimes you'll meet the person and then you won't talk to them for like 2-3 months, and then all of a sudden they come back to you. You're like, they may have ghosted you, or may have said they can't talk to you. Whatever your situation is, everyone's situation is different, okay? Everyone's situation is different. And even if they ghost you, they may come back and be like, okay, me may come back being this amazing man. And you're like, where did this come from? Like, this person may really prove themselves to you, be buying you flowers, really going to church with you, praying with you, and really proving to you that they have changed. But in the midst of them being separated from you, a lot could have went down that maybe they're not going to tell you, because they may feel like there's no point. It's just going to make you upset. Like, they may have been dating other people. They may have been not ready. Whatever's been going on. Sometimes that happens where the person comes back. They prove themselves to you. They prove themselves to God. But in the midst of the separation, they were learning the revelation. They were learning their revelation. You get what I'm saying? And not everyone's going to, like I said, not everyone's going to come back to their lover and be like, oh, well, while we were separated and I wasn't sure if you're my wife or not, I was dating these people and I realized you're my wife. Men are not going to admit that, and women are not going to admit that. They'll just come back and prove themselves, because actions speak louder than words, right? So, and you would probably never even think that because it hasn't been brought up. Do you get what I'm saying? And this is just the reality of the world. This is the reality of things. Until you walk wholeheartedly with God, this is the reality, and it happens. This is why there's a testimony. That's the whole point of a testimony. There has to be obstacles for there to be a testimony, right? So I just want to let everyone know, because some people are like, well, I don't want a fleshly man anyways. It sounds like this person's after flesh and da-da-da-da. Yeah, but we've all been there. We've all been after flesh. All of us. Some of us still do it sometimes here and there, and God has to come in and convict us. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it happens. You get what I'm saying? Like, we all have been in that position before. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes for a lesson to happen, for someone to realize, you know what, I did have a good thing. You get what I'm saying? Or I do have a good thing. God did bless me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the point of that video is just don't beat yourself up over the decisions that someone else makes. You know, and I had to use my example of my past with that high school lover that I had, because I know he beat himself up and thought he wasn't good enough, when all actual reality, it was me. I was the problem, but he never knew that. And that's my point. You get what I'm saying? So it does happen on both ends, guys. It does happen on both ends, okay? I got a message that God gave me for you guys yesterday. It's relating to not changing, right? So I'm going to tell you guys this message just now, okay? Love you guys. Bye.